Commander Yssrin, do you understand the order? We must eradicate them.
Commander Yssrin had crossed 40 worlds and never once felt her hearts tremble. The Threk Empire did not build soldiers who feared. They built soldiers who conquered, cold, disciplined, untouched by weakness, bred for 3 centuries to feel nothing but duty. She stood on the ridge above the human colony of New Halden, her scaled hand resting on the hilt of her plasma blade. Below her, in the mud and smoke, humans were dying by the hundreds against the Void's Worm, a hive species that had already erased 6 worlds from the star charts, worlds far stronger than this one, worlds with fleets and shields and weapons New Halden could only dream of. "Commander," said General Yssrin through her comm, his voice flat and certain, "our orders are clear. We observe. We do not intervene. The humans are not our concern." Yssrin said nothing. She watched a human soldier, young, barely more than a recruit, drag his wounded comrade across open ground while swarm drones tore the earth apart around him. Dirt and fire rained down. He stumbled once, twice, and still did not let go. "They will all die," Yssrin said. "Let them. It is not our war." That was when Yssrin saw the soldier turn back, not to save himself, but to shield his fallen friend with his own body as a drone descended for the kill. Something in her chest twisted. She had never felt it before. It took her a long moment to name it.
Shame.
She broke formation before she finished the thought. Yssrin dropped from the ridge in a burst of thruster fire, landing between the soldier and the drone. Her blade came up and split the machine in half before it understood it had already lost. "Get up," she said, hauling him to his feet. "Move." The young man, his name, she would later learn, was Private Tomas Reyes, barely 22, stared at her in shock, his rifle still trembling in his hands. "You're one of them. The ones watching us. The ones who were just going to let us die." "Not anymore," Yssrin said. Yssrin's voice screamed over the comm, furious, forbidding her return, threatening court-martial, threatening exile, threatening worse. She switched the channel off and did not look back at the ridge she had abandoned. The battle for New Halden lasted 3 more days. Yssrin fought beside humans she had been ordered only to study, soldiers with no shields, no plasma cannons, no biotech armor, only rifles, courage, and each other. She watched them carry their wounded under fire, refusing to leave a single body behind, living or dead. She watched them share their last rations with frightened children hiding in the ruins, going hungry themselves without complaint. She watched a woman named Captain Elena Ward stand alone against 3 Void's Worm breachers to buy her unit 30 seconds to retreat, and survive only because Yssrin arrived in time to end the fight, her blade moving faster than the breachers could track. "Why do you keep doing that?" Elena asked her afterward, exhausted, blood-streaked, alive, sitting against a shattered wall as medics moved past them. "Throwing yourself in front of danger for people who aren't even your species?" Yssrin considered the question longer than she expected to need. "Where I come from, strength means never needing anyone. Weakness is a soldier who forms attachments. You have shown me strength means the opposite. It means needing each other enough to die for it and choosing that anyway." Elena managed a tired smile. "That's just called being human." "Then perhaps," Yssrin said, "I am learning to be something new." That night, sitting among the wounded by the firelight, Yssrin realized she had stopped counting the days by Empire standard cycles and started counting them the way the humans did, by sunsets survived, by names remembered, by friends still breathing. Tomas taught her small things, how humans shared food before eating themselves, how they touched a shoulder to comfort a shaking soldier, how they told jokes even in the worst hours, not to forget the horror, but to survive it together. It unsettled her, this strange new arithmetic of caring. It also quietly felt right. On the 4th day, the Void's Worm Queen Hive itself descended on New Halden, a monstrous bioship larger than any structure the humans had ever built, its shadow swallowing the ruined city whole, blotting out the sun. It was, by every measure Yssrin's empire used, an unwinnable fight. Even her own kind would have called for immediate retreat. The humans did not surrender. Tomas, The soldier Yssrin had first saved now stood in the command line with a rocket launcher on his shoulder, hands shaking, voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Commander Yssrin, orders?" No one had ever asked her for orders and meant it as permission to stand beside her, not obedience to a superior. It was, she realized, an invitation, and she had never been offered one before in her entire life of conquest. "We aim for the neural spire," Yssrin said. "Together. All of us." They ran. Void's warm drones fell in waves before them. Yssrin's blade, Elena's rifle, Tomas's rockets, 100 more soldiers whose names Yssrin now knew, whose faces she would never forget. The neural spire loomed ahead, pulsing violet light, defended by a wall of the hive's strongest breaches, creatures twice the height of a man with claws that could tear through steel. This was the moment Yssrin finally understood fear. Not fear for herself. She had never feared for herself in her entire life, not once, not even facing death alone. She feared for them. For Tomas, aiming his last rocket with hands that would not stop trembling, knowing he might not survive the shot. For Elena, out of ammunition, drawing her sidearm anyway because retreating was never an option she would take. For every human who had chosen to stand rather than run, knowing exactly what standing might cost them, and standing regardless. Fear, she understood now, was not weakness. It was the price of love. It was what made every one of these fragile, breakable humans the bravest beings she had ever fought beside. For New Halden, Elena screamed, and the line surged forward. Yssrin moved faster than she ever had, cutting a path through the breaches, buying Tomas the 3 seconds he needed. His rocket struck true. The neural spire shattered in a column of violet fire, and above them, the queen hive shrieked, a sound like a dying world, and began its slow, dying collapse into the sea beyond the city. They stood together in the ashes afterward, human and alien, side by side, alive, breathing in air thick with smoke and something like hope. General Yssrin's fleet arrived one day too late to help and one day too late to stop what Yssrin had already done. He landed amid the wreckage to find her standing beside Tomas and Elena, no longer wearing her Empire insignia, her armor scorched and cracked but her back straight. "You disobeyed a direct order," Yssrin said, his voice cold with judgment. "You will be tried before the High Council. You understand what that means." "Then try me," Yssrin answered, unshaken. "But know this. I did not learn weakness from these humans, General. I learned the only fear worth having. The fear of watching someone you die for and doing nothing. That is a fear our Empire has never taught its soldiers, and it is the greatest failure of everything we call strength." Yssrin had no answer for that. He simply stared, something unreadable behind his cold eyes, and then, without another word, he turned and signaled his fleet to stand down. Whatever trial he had threatened, he would not be the one to bring it. Not against a soldier who had just done what his entire empire had failed to do in 300 years.